Hello again, everybody. Now, what I have here on the screen is the beginning of my epic video that I'm about to share with you today. All right. Now, I'm going to move kind of fast. All right. But I hope you enjoy it. All right. This video today is about this man right here, Tecumseh. Tecumseh was a Shawnee Indian chief, and he was pretty interesting because what he was trying to do was form a confederation. Right. He was trying to travel the United States all throughout the Midwest. He was mostly lived in Ohio, but he traveled all through the Midwest and tried to recruit people to come to a location which is called Prophetstown, which is about 70 miles south of here, near present-day Lafayette, Indiana, a place where the Wabash and the Tippecanoe River converge. Tecumseh was out as a result of the Louisiana Purchase. More settlers started moving into the Indiana Territory, and he looked at what the colonists did in the Revolution, and he and his brother got to talking, and they realized that if they formed a confederation and united, perhaps they could at least get a place at the negotiating table and not lose their land. Now, Tecumseh's brother, the Prophet, was not quite the leader that Tecumseh was. Tecumseh was the intelligent one. He was quick-witted. He was a leader. People respected him. The Prophet, not so much. He was a bit of a talker. He would tell tall tales. You know, he would tell stories about himself that weren't entirely true to try and inflate his own ego. In fact, got into a fight once with somebody, and he was stabbed in his eye, right? Slashed right across the eye, and it caused a big scar, and the pigment in his eye actually was cut in the pupil, and all the coloration in his eye blended together, and it looked to be like a crystal ball. So he uses this to his advantage. In fact, it is the reason Prophetstown is called Prophetstown. You know, the prophet began using his crystal ball to see the future. And like most predictors, half of what he said came true, half of what he said didn't come true. So he began making predictions. Well, while they were gathering their Native American alliance at Prophetstown, William Henry Harrison was trying to make a name for himself as a candidate for U.S. president. In fact, he was sent by the Indiana National Guard to go observe what was happening at Prophetstown. The prophet did not like this, all right? And the prophet has a vision. He envisions that they're going to surprise attack William Henry Harrison and the Indiana National Guard and defeat them. His vision was not correct. It was actually a massacre. The prophet led them into the Battle of Tippecanoe, which was more like a blowout, and the Native American alliance was savagely defeated. In fact, the fighting was so brutal to this day. If you go to the Tippecanoe battlefield, you can still see cannons where cannonballs were fired into trees. They're still stuck in the stumps. Some trees were cut clean in half by bullet fire and cannons. It was intense. And the natives were in bad shape. And it was after this battle that defeated Tecumseh makes one final prediction. He said that any president elected in a year ending in 0 shall die before they leave office. And he lays the curse on William Henry Harrison. He says, Harrison will go to the house that is white and lead the white men. And when he goes to that office, he will die. And it became known as the Year 0 curse, the president's curse, Tecumseh's curse. Well, as fate would have it, Harrison, after the victory at Tippecanoe, does, in fact, ride the wave of victory to the White House. Tippecanoe and Tyler, too, was his campaign slogan. William Henry Harrison delivers the longest inaugural address in the history of the nation in a driving rainstorm where he refused to wear a hat and a jacket. He develops a sniffle. And 30 days into his presidency, it turns into pneumonia. And William Henry Harrison dies. Now, Harrison was elected in the year 1840, which means if the curse is correct, any president elected in a year ending in 0 would die before they left office. Well, what you have on the screen there are 7 United States presidents. All of these men are the next 7 presidents elected in a year ending in 0 following William Henry Harrison. So let's go through it. 1840, William Henry Harrison, elected president, falls ill, dies 30 days into to his presidency, thus perhaps laying the curse in place. Next president elected in a year ending in 0, 1860, Abraham Lincoln. Assassinated in 1865, dies while still in office. The next president elected in a year ending in 0 is 1880, James Garfield. In 1881, President Garfield got off of a train. He was shot in the abdomen, developed a gangrene infection, and dies from the gunshot wound. The next president elected in a year ending in 0, 1900, William McKinley. After delivering a speech, William McKinley was shot and killed by an assassin. 4 presidents elected in a year ending in 0 in a row, and all 4 men died before they left office. 1920. Next president elected in a year ending in 0, Warren G. Harding. Dies of a heart attack while in office. Next president elected in a year ending in 0, 1940, Franklin Delano Roosevelt. In 1945, while still president, Franklin Delano Roosevelt dies of a massive stroke. The next president elected in a year ending in 0, 1960, John F. Kennedy. John F. Kennedy was assassinated in Dallas, Texas in 1963. Ladies and gentlemen, these 7 men were the next 7 men elected in a year ending in 0, and all 7 men died before they left office, thus setting in place for 120 years of United States history. Every single president elected in a year ending in 0 died. By the way, these are the only 7 presidents to die in that 120-year time frame, with the exception of Zachary Taylor in that entire time frame. Coincidence? Now, I know what you're thinking. Ladies and gentlemen, 1980 was a year ending in 0, and that was President Ronald Reagan. He was nearly assassinated in the year 1981. He was shot. In fact, he was shot by a .22 bullet as he was walking out of a building after he gave a speech, and the Secret Service heard the shots ring out, and they shoved President Reagan into the limousine thinking he had escaped. While they were halfway back to the White House, the president started coughing, and they realized he had a gunshot wound to the chest. They made a fateful decision to turn around and go to the hospital, even though some of the Secret Service told them to go back to the White House. As President Reagan walked into the emergency room, because he was a proud man, he collapsed, and they rushed him into emergency surgery. The surgeon said, if they hadn't have brought him in when they did, Reagan probably would have died. So a lot of people say that Ronald Reagan may have broke the year 0 curse. There have been 2 other elections. The year 2000, President George W. Bush was elected president. He did survive 1 assassination attempt. Somebody threw a live grenade at a stage where he was giving a speech, but because the assassin was holding the grenade so tightly, this was in Jordan, by the way, when he pulled the pin, it actually broke off and the grenade didn't detonate. Had it have, though, experts say, President Bush likely would have lost his life. Of course, the next election that ended in 0 was 2020, and we're 3 years in. Hang on, Joe! Make it! We'll see what happens. Anyways, that's the year 0 curse. Now, if you were paying attention, you got a few answers to today's assignment. Hopefully you were. If not, oh well, I guess you'll just have to rewind or look it up in the book. At any rate, though, I'm now going to morph into 1,000 Mr. Deckers. You ready? Whoa. All right. Well, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, and I hope you're having a good day. I will see you again Wednesday. Don't forget to finish your study guides quietly on your own, or at least get close to getting them done. Hope you enjoyed the video. I'll see you tomorrow. Be good. Peace.